Everybody, welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and we've got a building or a selling or a buying or a construction episode just for you today. And that means we are going to be talking about construction, property, and real estate technology, where these industries are intersecting with some of the latest technologies in the industry 4.0 that we've been talking so much about. This is another convergence episode. As all these technologies that we have continually talked about, whether that be artificial intelligence, that be blockchain, that be 5G, edge, everything in between, how these are all converging into some of the leading industries that are affecting our lives, both as consumers and on the enterprise. And again, today we'll be talking about construction, property, and real estate, and how those are all intersecting and moving forward. And we've brought some of the best and brightest from around the world as investors and experts to share with us what they're seeing on the ground and within these industries as things are changing here as we look towards the end of 2020 and ahead to 2021. With that, a big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in. If you're liking what you hear today, click subscribe. Do reach out as an investor if you'd like to be on a show like today to talk about the latest on technologies, industries, and regions around the world. We'd love to have you share your thoughts and insights. And entrepreneurs, are you building something in construction, building something in property, building something in real estate tech? Well, we've got a virtual stage here for you at VCTV to get up and pitch us as investors focused on your area. To learn more about your product, your service, give you some real-time feedback, and also have some exposure to our live audience. Do reach out to the team and or myself, and we'll find the right spot for you. And with that, a big thank you to the LA Token team and Emmanuel for making VCTV possible every single day. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's have a little fun. With that, introductions to our investors today on the panel. Kicking it off, Family Feud style. Elfish, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to have you. My man in rainy London. Intro, a little background.
Oh, yeah. You want me to do an intro? Another intro?
Oh, a little intro. Yeah. Everyone needs to know who you are.
I'm Alpesh Doshi. I work in tech. I work in data. We're interested in real estate and Proptech and construction tech. Around one of the areas is around sustainability. And I love emerging tech. All the buzzwords that Kyle always talks about. The reality for me is how do you make it real? And that's where we're at. The biggest challenge is how do you make it real? And that's where the difficulty and the hard stuff comes. Changing companies, changing industries, changing culture is really, really hard. And that's what I focus on.
Well, and you do such a good job of at it as well. And some of these technologies we mentioned at the beginning of the show, it has been about making it real. And here in 2020, we're starting to see that happen, which is exciting. Early days, but we're starting to see it. And we'll get to more on that here in just a minute. Jude, Yoda Jude, welcome to the show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you back here. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the founder and the CEO of Jointer. Jointer is a blockchain company. It's actually commercial real estate backed DeFi blockchain company. And our goal is basically to change the game when it's come to syndication. So what that means, instead of buying a property or recap a property by do PPM, pitch to investor, syndicate fund, close the deal in 60, 90 days, imagine to yourself that you have one point to reach out to, file your project, and if it's qualified, you can get one check. So Jointer is like a one big LP, one check investor. But behind the scene, we basically create something that democratizes the ability for the entire world to participate. We find a way in very comply how to open the door to retail client. It's a little bit complex because of the regulations, but we find a way how to open the door to retail comply. I know that the first thing come in your mind, maybe it's a REIT, maybe it's crowdfunding. So it's either. It's not even close. It's something new. And the idea is that how can we on one side let properties to close deal very fast with one check, but how on the other side we can allow investor to participate but do not have a direct correlation to whatever the property return will be, whatever liquidity or risk the property carry, right? So it's kind of a new model that's changing the game.
Absolutely love it. Looking to hear more about that as we spoke recently about it. So looking to hear more on how things have advanced and how this will play a role in the very changing evolutionary landscape that we all are living right now. With that being said, another man from across the pond in the rainy, beautiful, sun-setting region of London. Gavin, welcome back to the show. A little intro and a little background.
Hi, Kyle. Good to be back. So, Gavin Johnson, I run a law tech consultancy, and I'm actually in the process of partnering up with a law firm to provide a built environment technology practice. So, Contech, if you want to call it, Contech sounds a bit dubious. Conning tech, construction tech, I don't know, it's not quite as catchy, is it? But Proptech, they're all in our sort of sphere of interest for work and provision of services, but also for investment. So it's very timely, this presentation, which is great. My background is in law. I work a lot in construction engineering, particular disputes for my sins. But before that, science, engineering, and so technology is of particular interest to me, and I suppose a passion of mine. That's what I'm trying to pursue at the moment.
Wonderful, and welcome back. And second to last, Mr. Gary Fowler, Grandmaster Artificial Intelligence.
The all-seeing eye, Kyle. You are the all-seeing eye.
You're too kind.
The man that puts a dent in the universe.
You're too kind. You're too kind. Thank you. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's great to see you. So my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done now 16 companies. I've written now 82 articles. I just published one today on how SPACs work and AI genomes and gene splitting. So those are my new articles. I love to write. I'm a serial entrepreneur, as I said. I am the CEO, co-founder of GSD Venture Studios, an AI venture studio, and now an accelerator that works with growth stage companies going global. And, this is the time. My first company, by the way, was a Proptech company. I actually started building, I built 27 homes using new technologies. And then I actually started building them in factories, big houses, $1 million houses that I designed. So this is a passion for me. I love it. It was initially my startup, and then it was my hobby, and it's still my hobby, actually.
Oh, this is great. This is wonderful. Well, welcome to the show. Excited to dive in. And you have a new fund as well, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit.
Absolutely. $100 million fund. So it's great. Things are
absolutely. Good. And to the audience, I will share Gary's article in the show notes. I just posted it in our chat for everyone. So I'll share that as a note for everyone. Noble, welcome to the show. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Morning, everybody. My name is Noble Dracone. I'm the founder of Dracone Capital Partners, where we help companies find capital and equity for their projects. I'm also on the advisory board for M Accelerator, and we have a fund called the M Accelerator Venture Fund 1. We tend to be agnostic in what we try and work with or help, our companies try and work with and help, and we have various participants from around the world. But we tend to fall along the lines of anything that kind of pushes innovative technology. And so one of the most, fastest growing areas is both blockchain and how it intersects with real estate and what's going on in that whole entire area. So we tend to look at pop opportunities where you have title issues being solved by blockchain, as well as transfer of money and the like. So yeah, happy to be here, Kyle.
Wonderful. Happy to have you. And then last but not least, Adrian, pleasure to have you back. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Hello, everybody. By the way, I just followed Gary on Medium.
Adding to your followers. By the way, did you grow some TikTok followers? Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Sorry, go ahead.
I have to invest some resources there. My name is Adrian Niculescu. I'm involved in a few projects. One of them is CloudCoin Consortium, CloudCoin being the first digital currency with no blockchain to be listed on major exchanges. I'm involved with Faster Capital, which is an accelerator and incubator for companies based in Dubai, and also mentoring Virgin startups. I have a 10 years experience of doing real estate deals. And last year, I started a project to combine blockchain and the real estate, and it becomes slowly a Proptech project. The idea is that the crowdfunding in real estate now comes to the tokenization. So maybe we'll talk more about that. Very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Again, wonderful to have each and every one of you here today to share your thoughts and insights about these three areas. So to kick it off, where are we in the current state of things? We're here in less than 80 days, I believe now, in Q4, looking at how things have changed over 2020 and going into 2021. I mean, we've had more homes that have been purchased online than we potentially have ever at this point, sight unseen. We've seen new technologies introduced in the real estate game, which I know Noble has a little bit that he wants to share on that. When it comes to construction and property, we're seeing new advancements in technologies around building tech as well. But in general, we'd love to hear your thoughts and insights of what you all are seeing as the current state of things. Elfish, let's start with you to begin as the current state.
Current state of, well, I don't know, I could talk about current state around tokenization and current state around data, sustainability. There's a lot of different topics, and obviously blockchain is there, but what current state in general, I think, the acceleration of the adoption of technology is happening. Companies have woken up. I see it now on all the companies we deal with. There are market drivers, there are societal drivers, there are commercial drivers that I'm seeing around this. So it's great. It's a great time, even though COVID is there. It was a great time to innovate and build new businesses. On the blockchain front, I've been in the blockchain space for 6 years. We started doing tokenization, first tokenization of a real estate asset 2 years ago. And then at that point in time, the reality was a lot of the infrastructure you need to make it happen just wasn't there. So there's has been some advancement of that technology in the last 2 years, two and a bit years. But I think it's still pretty slow in all aspects around investors, around the technology infrastructure, around the regulatory infrastructure, regulatory and compliance infrastructure, around appetite for investors who use tokenization invest in. I think I reckon for scale, we're at least 2 years away from my perspective. I'm interested in the pivotal point, the scale point. Yes, there's individual companies doing tokenization and individual assets, but that's not scale. I'm interested in the inflection point of when it's going to scale to do 1 million assets, 2 million, 10 million, 20 million assets. And we're not there yet. I think we're a couple of years away.
And Jude, thank you, Elfish. Jude, to you, what are you seeing as the current state? I mean, you've been building in this space and furthering on Elfish's point around tokenization and a little bit of where things are. Where are you seeing the current state of real estate construction and property tech from your viewpoint, having building in this space on the DeFi side?
You're on mute.
Oh, Jude, you're on mute. All good. It was all, again, great points.
It's great points, right?
Wonderful insights.
I have to say that we probably been the earliest company among all others that create tokenization in 2017. And very quickly after we spent a lot of money to build it, we kind of did some kind of extrapolation and analyzing into the future to understand, is that the future? Is that how it's going to look like? And we come into conclusion that the answer is no. Tokenization is not the right answer for building. It's the right answer maybe for REITs, the right answer maybe to tokenize a company shares, but it's not the right answer for buildings. The reason for that is because most of the building, the average building, at least in the United States, it's not billions or zillions. It's few million dollars, like $2, $3, $4 million in average. But even if you take $10 million average property, and you're assuming that the property has 70% LTV in average and 30% equity available, if you're looking on that, there is a lot of risk to tokenize such kind of a property. One is because if the owner will tokenize the entire 30%, whoever going to buy those tokens, it's kind of like you bought a share from a company without a CEO who is going to run the show. If the people going to buy the tokenization, the tokens do not going to be sophisticated, the seller can tokenize the property twice with 2 different providers and sell the same equity share or the same income stream twice to 2 different people. Obviously, nothing stopping the owner to go to the bank and make another loan, right? Take another debt. And in other words, it's kind of reducing the liquidity because, as you know, bank came first as first position, second position before the shareholders. Obviously, there is nothing that connecting the token to the money, the income stream that's coming into the bank as a cash flow, as a fiat money, right? The owner can keep the money and pay with it whatever he like and do distribution to his own pocket, but there is nothing can force him besides trusting him to do distribution to whoever owns those tokens. Now, I discussed here a little bit about scammy position, that people abuse that concept called tokenization, and I don't need to tell you how much people abused in 2017 the ICOs, right? You probably know that 2/3 of the ICO was a big scam. So it's just a matter of time how people will abuse that tool. But that being said, let's say everybody honest for a second, right? Let's assume that. So I want to touch what Elfish, I hope that I'm saying his name right, Elfish says. Let's say everybody honest and everybody want to sell piece of their tokens, right? Piece of their property using tokens. Let's talk about scalability and liquidity, because this is the most important part. First, it's not scalable because I cannot sell a piece from a building that I not yet own. First, I need to buy the property, become to be the owner, then I need to become to be the issuer, then I need to sell a piece of that. So it's not really scalable, right? Second, if I will sell a piece of that, and assuming that I sold my entire 30%, right? Let's say I have 30% equity and I sold out, right? Which is equal to $3 million in our example. You need to understand that tokens, it's not Bitcoin. It's not increasing, decreasing value overnight, right? There is appreciation over years, or at least few months, right? So what it's saying that people that are going to buy into it, regardless to the taxation point of view, they're going to hold it at least for a few months. So the daily trading, every day, it cannot be 3 million. You have to be less. You have to be a few hundred, few thousand, few tens of thousand maybe, but it cannot be $3 million every day. Now, exchanges, alternative trading system, OTC, national exchanges will not welcome $10 million project if the daily trading is few hundred, few thousand, or even $10,000 per day, because they're making money from spread and fees, and there is no really a lot of meat for them to welcome such kind of a small project, right? So in other words, whoever going to buy into those deals is going to see very soon that, if everybody familiar with the word time sharing, you remember the old time sharing words? Everybody thought it's a great deal until it's become to be the opposite. I think people are going to realize that when they're buying into the tokens, beside the fact that there is Rule 144, which the SEC that do not allow you quickly to flip the token and sell it to somebody else, they're going to realize that there is no liquidity, right? And that's everything. Why I'm saying it's everything? I say everything because today you see more and more people don't want to invest into project and say, give me 10,000x like Facebook. Today you see more and more people say, just double my money, but I want exit yesterday. I don't want exit 10 years from now. People want more flexibility of way out, right? And as you can see, with the structure that exists today, there is no scalability, there is no liquidity, and there is no way out, right? And this is what Jointer created. Jointer find a way how to allow people to invest into the commercial real estate industry, getting a return that is uncorrelated to specific property, and have liquidity 24/7, regardless to if the property has or doesn't have liquidity by itself. So that's where we come as a players.
And that liquidity option is a very, very big piece of this puzzle. We'll come back to that in a moment. But Gavin, to you, thank you again, Jude. Gavin, to you, what are you seeing as the current state of these 3 areas, and maybe particularly around construction tech or Contech or construct tech, whatever the possible buzzword term is going to be for it, since this is an area of your specialty?
Sure. I think the market for confidence triggers is probably pretty well served. So the construction tech, let's just go with that to avoid any confusion. I see a lot of movement, tech, not just blockchain and tokenization, and there's a whole raft of issues, as Jude's just explained a little bit around that. But there's a lot of work in and around how you can improve construction operations. Certainly, can you build something faster? Can you build it safer? Can you protect people on site? A lot of death in the construction industry, which is very sad, and the majority of which are avoidable. But can you build something faster? Can you reduce the overrunning time, the off-site building, off-site manufacture, prefabrication, things like this begin to go into play? And there's a lot of startups. I was talking to one, I don't know, probably end of last month, who are building a new, effectively it's a block of flats, but it's a student dorms, student halls of residence, and they'll do that in 4 months. Okay, it's prefabbed in a factory for 3-4 months or something before that, but all they'll do is bring it to start on the back of a lorry, crane into position, bolt in place, and that's it, done. In fact, it should be open now, if I remember. So, there's a lot of companies doing a lot of things. Certainly in the construction industry, there's a lot of movement, and a lot of investment seems to be shifting as well, which is obviously important. Where the money goes, people tend to start innovating. You follow that trend, and you can overlay that with a number of government initiatives, certainly in the UK, to improve and encourage modern methods of construction, improvements in the sector, and so on. So that's a pretty robust, pretty healthy market at the moment. But also Proptech, I suppose Proptech as differentiating from real estate technology. Proptech, to my mind, is more the sort of on the more Airbnb end of things. So it's all about using property as opposed to developing property. There's a lot of movement there, looking at this sort of reduction in void periods in holiday lets and rentals, and improving experiences when you move. For example, you move into a new block of flats, you need to change all your utilities and all the disastrous admin that goes with it. So there's apps out there that will now help you not only organize that move, but then organize you and your whomever you may be sharing with, to organize utilities. Now, this is great, obviously reducing admin cost in theory to do that. So there's a lot of movement, which is pretty exciting. Take it with a pinch of salt. How successful will they be? Is it a new Airbnb? Who knows? Only time will tell. But there's certainly a lot of people trying to do a lot of things in this space. And just touching on there's a few points that Alpesh and Jude made. Tokenization of real estate is a big issue, but more broadly, tokenization of assets. And it's not necessarily as straightforward as we may think. You think, oh, well, here's the thing, there's a token. No, the law doesn't allow you to do that. And to put my lawyer's hat on for a moment, you immediately get into problems, because effectively what you're talking about is securitization. So then you have to go and have a nice conversation with the SEC if you're in the States, the FCA if you're over here, how you're dealing with that, how you're trading it. And it's a great idea, improvements in liquidity, but who are you improving it for? Really, you're only going to benefit, in my mind, heavy investors, trusts, rights, and so on. So you've got to look at what it is you're trying to achieve, and there's some real hurdles to that, as both Alpesh and Jude touched on, and maybe we'll come back to it in a later question.
Absolutely, thank you. And Adrian, to you, current state, what are you seeing from these three areas?
I see a big bet on tokenization and transforming crowdfunding into tokenization. Hearing to Gavin and Jude, they brought on the table some serious problems, some serious issues, which usually are kept under the table. So we don't speak we don't speak a lot about them, especially when we want to sell the concepts. But at the end of the day, it's all about the customers, it's all about the investors. And if we want to build sustainable projects, we need to think about what's in it for the investors actually putting money in such projects. Real estate is an old industry. No matter how retail will suffer the experience of going into a nice shop and to buy some clothes is impossible to be replicated in online. So the best ones will survive. Also about residential, no matter how tech, Proptech, Contech will evolve, will still have to live somewhere. So the fundamentals will be here. And what will change a lot is how these markets will be approached. From the real estate agency side, because my background is of a real estate agent, and I like doing deals, especially if I'm going out of the house, you know. I find reasons to do that. The regular real estate agency and the regular franchises in real estate are models dying, because one agent can have on his mobile phone the entire infrastructure needed. He doesn't need anything else besides his mobile phone or a tablet, and just that he must be a better marketer, a better seller, a better copywriter, and can do a lot about himself. So I see a huge opportunity in developing how the transactions will be made and putting in the center the person, not the company with a lot of infrastructure, a lot of overheads, office space, and things like that. So here are the opportunities I'm seeing right now.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Noble, to you. I mean, I know you're holding back some good stuff around this industry because you focus on it and you've talked about it and you're building in it as just as Jude and others are as well. So drop the hits, turn it over to you. Where are you seeing as the current state?
You know, yeah, thanks, Kyle. You know, I've been involved in buying commercial real estate and syndication probably for about 20 years on and off. And one of the things that we're just noticing is there's an interesting intersection between what's happening with the renters and what's happening with the financing. And one of the biggest concerns that I'm seeing is that money is easy again, like in the last implosion, real estate implosion that almost destroyed the US economy. And so while people are refinancing and acquiring real estate at a quick clip, there's also a larger number of people who are no longer being able to pay and a larger number of defaults. And so, you know, we work with a couple of different groups. We work with a lot of commercial real estate people looking for the commercial side of renters, but they're all concerned that it's never going to go back to the way it was. You know, they're trying to come up with designs of hub and spoke models. They realize that the malls have, you know, changed in a significant way, and it's great to think that people are want to be able to have a in-person shopping experience, but a lot of that's changed with AR and the expediency of what Amazon has done for most people. So the landscape is really aggressively changing. You know, without even getting into politics, we're all dealing with the vote, the right for people to be able to stay in their homes with the upcoming vote, and whether or not there should be moratoriums. And as a person who does commercial real estate on the individual renter side, that changes what the landscape looks like. And you're just curious to see, you know, over the next 2.5 years, 3 years, what this is all going to evolve into, and that hopefully there is no overall aggressive implosion in that space. But usually, like we always say, commercial real estate takes about 2-3 years after the residential market to kind of do any shifts. But on the flip side too, you know, a lot of the positives is that people are going to be buying homes digitally for quite some time. One of the companies that we're looking at that has a mobile app called Real AR Places, great company. They're based out of, I believe, out of Asia. And they've done a great job of allowing real estate agents, to Adrian's point, be able to just show homes and to create themselves the ability to express what people want to see without ever having to walk in, and using that as a significant component. Another great company that we've been looking at is Curate, in which they're actually allowing people to put stuff in the homes without ever buying it physically, which is a great app. And we're tracking them because that's kind of where a lot of this is going. When we looked at Real AR Places, I think that initial, small investment of 120,000, and we're kind of looking at where to go. But what really made them so unique was that they were able to take a 2D floor plan and then lift it up and make it a 1-for-1 AR walkthrough. That's really innovative, and that allows multiple places, whether you're a renter, whether you're purchasing, to be able to really see the space. And so I think for some time to come, particularly with, I don't know anybody knows, been to these real estate walkthroughs lately, but when I've personally gone, before I can even go in to check out the place, I've got to fill out waivers on whether or not I'm going to get COVID. If I get COVID, they're not liable, and forms after forms to even go check these properties out. So it's the ability to be able to use augmented reality in such a straightforward way to be able to see it without having to be there is a huge benefit. I think overall, if people are looking to invest in the space, I think there's going to be a significant number, no matter what the finance component looks like, there's going to be a significant number of opportunities in the finance, whether it intersects with blockchain, whether it intersects with different ways of transaction funding. There's just something going to happen there because people are going to start liquidating a lot of their large portfolio holdings. We get a lot of offers every day, but at the same time, millennials don't buy homes, and so rental spaces are continuously moving up. So it's kind of a thing where we're really heading into a brave new world when it comes to commercial and rental real estate, and there's just a lot of intersections of opportunity across the board.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. And before we get to some stuff around data and where some other opportunities are, Gary, I know you've been in this space as you teased out in the beginning, and you also sent me an article on the side. What are you seeing as the current state of this?
Well, so I mean, literally across the board. So we've got the situation with cross-border transaction and make it easier to be able to buy a house or a property. So companies like Proptech that have some of those capabilities. But, I focused on the modular construction. I actually built one of the largest, at the time, largest modular homes. It's almost $1 million house today. And I built it in less than 4 months. And I actually went in a factory, put Anderson windows in it, put in all the security systems in the factory. I built it in 6 boxes, 14 by 70 boxes. And I sent you a link over to that particular house. It's in State College, Pennsylvania, but it wasn't one. I built almost 30 of them. And the idea was, how could I reduce costs? How could I increase the quality? And how could I put up like 2x6 walls so the insulation was right? The windows were the way that I wanted, and I didn't have to deal with the contractor saying, well, I want to do this, et cetera. So I experimented myself. And what I found is that, although on the outside, people are a little bit negative about it, when they see the house, and once they're inside, they can't tell the difference, because actually the construction of the house is a lot better because it's all quality controlled. What happens when you build a property today? It rains. And do you think it's good for lumber when it rains and you're doing a framing? Hello, you know what I mean? It warps. So why, so anyhow, I could see exactly what I wanted. And then to Noble's point, on terms of an AR walkthrough, being able to walk through, that's the future. I mean, this is going to happen because now being able to take, the manufacturing process, when I did it, wasn't really there to have it fully automated, but it's getting to that point. And think about 3D printing, right? They're panelized 3D printed houses. I mean, this is the future. So the thing is, it's not all about just, AR and VR and XR. It's about, let's get stuff done, and let's actually construct this stuff in factories, because we can do it a lot better, a lot faster. And it's, and now with, as I said, with the 3D printing, I mean, it's a perfect storm. It's the great time. So, yesterday I had on my show Samir Sharma, one of the top people in the world in Internet of Things. He's the general manager at Intel. And we were talking about it. I mean, think about it. We talk about sensors in houses. My God, I could stick them in these, in the factory. I can put all air quality sensors, everything. I can have it built in, right? It's like, it's perfect. So I'm excited about it. And I think that, cross-border transaction, the democratization of opportunity is here. Why can't I easily buy a house wherever I want? If I want to buy a house in Greece today, it's hard. Who do I go to? Right? How do I transfer the money? So
Call Jude.
Exactly. Jude. Yeah, exactly. And Propy's another company.
We only do commercial. We don't do residential. Residential for something else.
I mean, and it happens a lot. It's hard to do it. How do I buy, if I'm in the US and I want to buy something in Russia, how do I do it? How can I transfer my money? These are everywhere. So, this is a greenfield project to be able to go out and do those kind of transactions. And I'm excited about that too. And it's going to happen more and more. So the sensors in the houses, the Internet of Things aspect, the modular construction aspect, build it faster, build it better, and also cross-border transactions, because it's going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner than later.
It's already happening. I mean, let's throw that in there. 3D printing of homes, we're already starting to see efforts on, right? We're seeing 3D printing and introducing of technologies for rapid prototyping or rapid creation inside the home. So this stuff's already here, which is exciting. And Elfish, I want to come to you around the data. I mean, you do so much as well around data and artificial intelligence in both your worlds. Where are the opportunities being missed around leveraging data in these three areas that investors and entrepreneurs should be paying attention to?
To be honest, I think it's early days, in every area. IoT, being able to, so if we try and think of it simply, if you can have any device or any piece of equipment emitting data, it should. So there's a lot of opportunities around building hardware that will do that. So if you talk about, Gary, Gary's built loads of houses. If you talk about a smart house, smart property, putting sensors everywhere, putting the ability to extract data, collect data, that's still pretty early in the game. If you're talking about how you can use that data, there's a whole set of optimization opportunities that exist. We're pretty early. If you think about in the advertising and media space, it's pretty mature around data and AI. Google and Facebook and guys control it, and it's pretty sophisticated. If you take that as the benchmark and compare that to real estate and property, to be honest, we are back in the mid 90s around the space. If you think about if you have a comparison with Google and Facebook, so what we'll see around, people talk about smart cities and urban and IoT. All of these are the same thing, really. It's about creating the whole value chain around devices, buildings, infrastructure, construction, the value chain. Gavin works around the construction value chain. Being able to think about how do you make sure data fits into every part of that value chain is what the opportunity is. And there'll be tens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of companies that will emerge on the back of this stuff. And as I said, we're right at the early stages of this. There's been some development in Proptech, but if you look at the landscape of, for example, fintech, and there are thousands of companies in fintech, you look at the Proptech graph, frankly, there aren't that many companies still. And the Proptech investment cycle, so if you look at some of the investors like Fifth Wall, they're one of a tiny number of VCs actually investing in Proptech. There really aren't that many Proptech investors. So again, from an investment perspective, from a VC perspective, there just aren't enough venture capitalists investing in it. So that whole ecosystem, I think, will develop. Who knows what's happened with COVID, because Fifth Wall's LPs are real estate companies. So given what's happening in the market right now, who knows whether they have spare money to invest as LPs, but there's still loads of money flying around. So the whole ecosystem, I think, is going to develop over the next few years, where there will be more VC funds. There'll be more people looking at how data fits into all parts of this area, in everything, in every part of the Proptech value chain and construction value chain. The other thing to think about is also, so we're starting to work with some of the world's largest engineering firms, and they're looking at a digital transformation and looking at a business model transformation. So this is another part around what's happening is these companies are looking at data AI and digital transformation, how do they reinvent their business model? So that's another thing that's happening. And obviously there's a gap there because large companies, medium-sized companies find it hard to change. So there's a whole opportunity around these kind of professional services firms who can emerge and develop, effectively displace some of these firms. So I think the landscape's actually really optimistic. It's a great time to be in the space. Great time.
Absolutely. And to you, where are you seeing areas of opportunity, maybe just inside centralized finance, but then also throughout other areas of these three areas?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm listening to our friends here on the panel, but not only here, I'm listening to other people on different panels. And, in the United States, there used to be a guy called Henry Ford, the guy that created the car, Ford. And he has a quote that he says, if I had asked people what they wanted, they will have said faster horses. And it seems to me when we ask people the industry to wear, they say stuff that sounds like faster, cheaper, nicer, blah, 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 blah. If you're thinking about it, right? Take, for example, LoopNet or CoStar, which is kind of a marketplace between seller and buyer of commercial real estate properties. And you're looking on those kind of marketplaces around the world and you're asking yourself, why people come to those marketplaces? The first answer that's jumping into your head, it's very simple. Seller looking to find investors, investor looking to find an opportunities to invest in. And the answer is incorrect. That's not true. Those that have properties, they don't looking to find investors, they're looking to find money. And those that are investors, they don't looking to find opportunity, they're looking to find low risk with high return. Everything between is just a tool, right? It's just a process. So a lot of people using technology in order to try to do stuff better, nicer, cheaper than somebody else. That's not disrupting anything. That's not changing the game. If you're thinking on commercial real estate, who are they? We're talking about baby boomers. We're talking about old-fashioned people that's still doing contract with span, and somehow they're still hosting a fax somewhere, right? They still have the machine called fax. I have fax in the museum next to my home. That's the only place I have fax. And they're using that, right? And they don't understand cryptocurrency. They don't understand digital money. They don't understand digital paper. They don't understand money that they can touch and smell. They need to see the green, right? So why we want to change what they understand? Why we want to educate them for something that they cannot capable to welcome, right? So I have my own quote that I'm saying that if you want mass adoption, you need to bring to the people what they need without they know that they're receiving it. You don't need to change the game. And this is exactly what we try to do with Jointer. We try to bring a new world, right, into the reality without doing the process of education, without tell people drop whatever you're familiar with for 60 years and try something new. So what we're doing, in one side, we go to all those baby boomer, old final dinosaurs that still exist out there. And we say to them, hey, do you want to recap your property? Do you want to syndicate money from LPs for your PPM? Why don't get one check? It will be fiat money, go to title company, go to the old-fashioned escrow that you're familiar with, and it's going to be faster. Instead of 60, 90 days, you may close in 30, 35, 40, 45. It's a big difference, right? Also, we say to them, instead of put 10% skin in the game, how about you put only 5, which is half? And instead of get 20, 25 promote carry, how about you will get 50, which is double? So what I'm trying to say is that for them, we create a reality that they get one check from one source with 4x better terms than what they used to, 4x better terms than what they used to, and faster. And then when we stepping in as an LP, there is no different here. Obviously, we tokenize our income stream and we're holding it as a digital, but from their point of view, there is no change. This is what they used to, right? On the other side, we created in something different to the public. We allow investors to have the ability to invest in jointure ETN, which is basically standing for exchanging trading notes. So people get return best double return than the global REIT index, and they have liquidity because of what we build with the crypto market. They have liquidity 24/7. So what I'm trying to say to you is imagine yourself a word that you are an investor and you put your money in a building. That's the traditional word.
Yes.
Usually you lock it for 3, 5, 7 years. And if the property go underwater, you say bye-bye to your money, right? What if you can inject your money, get return based on 2x on the global REIT index, which is 20% average return per year, right? And imagine to yourself that your liquidity will not be correlated with specific property, and your collateral will not be based with specific property. You will have a cross collateral, and you will have ongoing liquidity, which means if you want out, you have out on a daily basis.
Absolutely. So just to summarize, because I want to make sure everyone else gets a chance to jump in here as well, but your point is very valid, is that there's opportunity in the development, the infrastructure, and the liquidity options as well, along with some education. And I appreciate your thoughts, insights. We're going to be coming back to that in just a minute. Gavin, to you, quick areas of opportunity you're seeing that people should be paying attention to, either as investors or as founders, as we're about to hit the lightning round and come to a close here. And Gary, Noble, I'll be coming to both of you here in just a moment as well. Gavin, to you. Oh, Gavin has been frozen in a very other.
I'm here. Can you hear
Gavin, I liked your pose there for a minute.
Your pose was very good. You were just kind of deep in thought.
Looked like the thinker.
Yeah, it was perfect. We thought you were just
Am I back on that? I'm waving.
You're back. You're live.
I was. I'm always. That's standard. There is opportunity. I think. What's your access point into any new market? And I know it's crude, and we've touched on it already several times, but it's following the money, and we've touched on liquidity, and that would seem to be the obvious jumping off point, because you want to, if you can improve things for finance, you can improve things for everybody, because then everybody gets involved, and money is easy and free and exciting, and that's how fintech really started. Can we do things in a better way? And the money follows on, and I think with real estate, because of its immovability as an asset, you've really got to look at how you are improving liquidity in that sort of market and secondary trading, and you get into some very interesting ideas. And I don't know if you want to talk about the boomers. Obviously, they're all becoming pensioners now, as Jude referred to. So they're looking, what's the driver for them? They're looking to convert asset into some form of liquidity, because they're going to need it for their pension and do what they want, and etc. So that seems to be to me to be an obvious route into it. And it's interesting. There was another comment about VCs not being terribly interested in this sort of space. I'm not sure that's true. There are some, perhaps not the headline, not the Sequoias of the world, but certainly some smaller, maybe you call them second tier ones, that are certainly looking at this. And there are a few relatively smallish players also looking at accelerators, getting involved in accelerators through this, into this sort of space. So I think it's pretty right, but I think you've got to address some pretty fundamental problems, and we've touched on asset tokenization, and that is certainly one of them. And those problems are not insurmountable, but the legal challenges are not insignificant. That's a lawyerly way of saying don't try. But if I can be a little bit more positive, there are ways and means, and it's encouraging, because you do see regulators get involved and saying, well, okay, come and try this. And whether or not you agree with sandboxes per se, they can afford some benefits of playing in a relatively safe environment while you try something new, and that doesn't strike me as a bad thing conceptually. So I don't know. I don't want to start using phrases like low-hanging fruit, because it just makes me sound like a management consultant. But there's certainly opportunities if we can crack that sort of asset tokenization issue. Failing that, it's more real-world application. And Gary obviously very well articulated his some modular home projects in the past, and that's really a big area of opportunity now, particularly in construction, because building an asset is much more worthwhile than building an.
Gavin, we were losing you for just a minute. The rain might be coming down a little hard on you, so we're gonna switch over to Gary real quick and let your connection come back.
While that may suit a contractor's
and
project.
Okay.
Cash flow.
All right. I think the internet may have caught up with us. Okay. So now to Gary,
Over a
thank you,
longer term,
Gavin.
it's actually more detrimental economically.
Gavin has a lot of points to say. For those that are listening, if you are interested in talking with a great investor and expert in this space, talk to Gavin. I mean, he just went for an extra 10 minutes on that thread. That is a man who you should talk to. With that being said, Gary, areas of opportunity you're seeing as well in this space, and then Adrian Noble.
Yeah, so what I talked about construction, advanced construction techniques, and more wider adoption of things like modular, panelized construction, 3D printing of homes. The other thing is, if you look at it today, if you have a well and you're in Pennsylvania or California, how many times do you ever check that well to make sure that the well is clear? So we need to have sensors everywhere. So radon, well, to be able to check to make sure that it's actually safe to live in that potential house. And we haven't done that. So that wider adoption and more usage of sensors. And Noble brought up a great point. I mean, it's really tough to go in and look at a property now. You got all kinds of things you need to sign. So how can we make that experience more interesting for that person? I mean, I'm not sure we really need to go in that house so many times to have those kind of walkthroughs. Why don't we have better capabilities in terms of using our AR and VR and XR to be able to have those unique personalized experience? So anyhow, that's what I like. And then of course, cross-border transactions, being able to buy a house anywhere, anytime, any place.
Absolutely. Adrian, to you.
The biggest opportunity I see is around how the properties will be sold, rented, and how will be made available investments for the little people, how to say. And in most of the occasions, in the selling, buying, and renting a property, a company like a platform will replace the middleman. So let's say the low tier real estate agent will disappear and will be replaced by the artificial intelligence. The agents who will survive and will thrive will be the ones very, very specialized during complex transactions. And as I told previously, in any of the work I'm doing, I want to be very hard to be replaced by a robot or by artificial intelligence. So to be very, very creative, and I believe this is also the solution here. So will we change the way the properties are bought, sold, and rented, and of course how the investments will be made in real estate properties will change.
Mm-hmm. And last but not least, Noble, areas of opportunity before we come to the last bit of today's panel.
To kind of piggyback what Gary's talking about a moment ago about the 3D printing, affordable housing is an issue globally, and there's some unique things they're doing with cement and 3D printing. And I think that there's really an opportunity in that space in a huge way in working with the disruptors who understand that's an issue. There's also opportunities when you start looking at the tech side all across the AR spectrum in both how real estate is being presented as well as how is construction being done. We've got a couple of clients that we're currently raising funds with that are IoT, where they're using Internet of Things to make construction faster and easier by getting feedback from devices set across the entire construction landscape to make sure that both safety is being done as well as construction is being done. So there's these little pockets of really unique ways that people are using technology to drive the marketplace. I think that there's so much happening among so many spectrum. That's why you got like 3 different titles, right, for this particular real estate space, that there's just so much happening that people are really trying to understand. We didn't even touch on smart cities. You know, Gary, he said, did his interview with one of the top people, I believe at Intel, working on smart cities. And that's also what's being built in across the globe. So there's all these little things that are happening that are allowing for 5G to be accessible, allowing for people to see stuff without actually being there, that I think as an investor, it's easy for us to kind of look at this as one big magnanimous cloth, but you also got to find where you fit in and what makes sense for you. And as for entrepreneurs, I believe entrepreneurs need to do a better job of sharing and telling their stories. You know, we had to track down really our places to start getting a dialogue about investing with them. I think that PR and advertising is still a big important tool that a lot of startups are not using to their full effect.
Absolutely, and we're coming to close here, so unfortunately I need to come around for everybody to let you know where you can be found online. So Noble, let's start with you. Where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
Yeah, there's very few Dracones in the world, so just look up Noble Dracone. You'll find me on LinkedIn. Type my name on the internet. You'll find all the books I've written on investing, or you can use my last name, @Dracone, on Twitter, and reach out to me. LinkedIn, my preferred medium. Always open to work with co-investors, have people invest in our fund, as well as entrepreneurs who've got a good USP, unique selling proposition to drive the marketplace forward.
Wonderful, thank you. Gary. Oh, you're on mute, my friend.
Yeah, sorry about that. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, LinkedIn, Gary at gsdvs.com. You can check our website out. I'll list all the recent shows. I'm happy to help startups. So let me know. And also investors interested in our fund, let me know. Thanks, Kyle.
Wonderful. Thank you. Adrian, where can everyone find you to continue the conversation?
I'm available on LinkedIn. I always respond to messages, not all the time immediately, but I always respond. And LinkedIn tend to become my hub. No new followers on TikTok since yesterday. By the way, so I have to put some more effort. Yeah, I've just started. So. And I'm happy to help startups and to contribute as much as I can. Thank you very much for having me here, and can't wait to come back.
Wonderful, thank you, Gavin.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me again, Kyle. LinkedIn is probably your best bet. Otherwise, through my company, Agenium. Happy to have a conversation with anybody because you never know where it's going to lead. So, you know, startups, anything in the tech, Proptech, Contech, as we're calling it, law tech spaces is definitely of interest, but built environment more broadly, get in touch. Let's have a chat.
Wonderful. Jude.
Yeah, so I can be found on LinkedIn. That will be the easiest way. You can also visit Jointer.io. We still welcome investors, small check, medium safe, big checks. Obviously, if they're from regulated countries, they have to be under 506C, regulation D506C. We made in the last few weeks, our return for our investor was 4,400. I'm reading from the website. 4,000.
It's just super quick though, because we're already out of time. So
yeah, so we made 44x to our investor in the last few weeks. So we welcome more investor to welcome and come to explore us.
Wonderful, thank you. Elfish, close this out. Where can everyone find you? Oh, you're on mute.
I'm on LinkedIn at Alpesh Doshi, on Twitter at Alpesh Doshi, and type my name in on Google and you'll find me, apart from the gynecologist.
It's not hard to mistake the two. One's focused in tech, one's focused in gynecology, two different worlds. Definitely connect the one with the one in technology. And to all of our investors and experts as well, thank you so much for joining today and sharing your thoughts and insights on what's happening in construction, property, and real estate, along with the intersection of technology in each of these areas. To your audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, click subscribe down there in the corner. Give us a thumbs up. Do reach out if you'd like to be on a show like today as an investor to share your thoughts and insights, or as an entrepreneur. Thank you, Gavin, Nicole. Noble, sorry. Share your thoughts and insights as well. But as an entrepreneur, if you'd like to be on our stage, thank you, Jude. To pitch us as investors, thank you, Gary. Thank you, Adrian. To pitch us as investors to get real-time feedback and thoughts and insights on your product, service, and business, along with pitching to our live audience. And a big thank you to the LA Token team and Emmanuel for making VCTV possible. Thank you again, everyone, for joining today. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. You can find me everywhere online at Kyle Ellicott, 24/7, 365. With that, we'll be back here tomorrow with more VCTV. Take care, everybody.